Well, hello again from here inside St James's Park on what was a very good day for Newcastle on the back of 4 without a win, a 4-goal response. That was exactly what they needed ahead of a huge week. And to that end, they probably needed Leicester as well. Leicester weren't very good. In fact, I don't think I've gone far enough for that. Leicester were awful. They were terrible. But Newcastle did what they had to do. And I thought they were individual, fantastic performances. We'll get the merit stars, so many contenders. And collectively, they were very good as well. But am I going to stand here and declare that a corner has been turned? Well, no, not yet. Not when this lot can drive even the sanest supporter around the bend. I think I'd want to see a little bit more evidence in that regard. And that's what Eddie Howe has just said to us downstairs. If you watch Newcastle here today and against Liverpool 10 days ago, you'd say, yeah, they're in a good place. Everything is working. The problem is, in between that, there was Brentford, and the week before that, there was Crystal Palace. So we want to see more. But in terms of setting up a really important part of the season, could they have done any more today? Well, no, I thought they were good in that regard. And the clues as to how they continue that and how they maintain that performance and then take it to another level against better teams and tougher fixtures to come, well, they were there today. The little combinations, Lewis Hall, Anthony Gordon on the left. We've just spoken to Lewis Hall downstairs. You know, those two have got to stay together at club and perhaps even internationally as well. I thought their link up was fantastic. The midfield, Eddie Howe has just joked with us downstairs saying, Craig doesn't have to ask about the midfield this time. It was functioning. Craig will be happy. He said, and I am happy. That midfield three, I said before the game, they had to put them back in there. I was surprised and a little disappointed they didn't play together down at Bournemouth, but with Tonali in the 6, Joe Linton to the left, Bruno to the right, the midfield functioned again. So the clues were there, you know, Alexander Isak, get the ball to him quicker. The amount of times he got the ball in that number 10 space there on the half turn, and when he does that, how dangerous is he? Does Isak feature in the merit stars? There's one of these has got to miss out, and I'm going to speak about all of them. Isak, who else was there? Anthony Gordon, Lewis Hall, Jacob Murphy, Sandro Tonali. I can't put all of them in there. I'm going to be strict in terms of picking only 3 of those, but I thought the performance today was just so much better in that it was direct, it was incisive, it cut out a lot of the nonsense we've seen here when there's lots of passes and lots of possession and lots of positions of promise. I always use that phrase and nothing really comes of it. Well, today it did. And yes, they get the half time and you wonder, you know, are they going to pay for the profligacy? Not an easy word to say with 14 shots to 1. There was never really any doubt of that. I always believed Newcastle were in control from that point on, and that was because of the manner in which they were playing. Such a more simple way, if you like, just getting it forward into those areas, then allowing the likes of Gordon and the likes of Isak to dribble. And a lot of that come back to Sandro Tonali being in the number 6. He has really got to stay there now. I thought that was his best performance. I keep on saying this every time about Tonali in this number 6 position. It was his best performance yet for Newcastle, when incidentally, that was the first time he started a game today in the Premier League and ended up on the winning team since his debut against Aston Villa. And I'm talking about clues as to how Newcastle maintain that going forward while keeping Tonali in the 6. Absolutely has to be rule number 1. Well, how did the game play out? Newcastle actually didn't start very well at all. I made a note on my pad at the time inside the first 5 minutes. They just kept on giving the ball away. Twice there was Jacob Murphy and Tino Livramento played passes to Jamie Vardy. Now, if this was Vardy 5 or 6 years ago, perhaps they would have been punished for that, but they got away with it. And if anything, that was a little indicator as to Leicester not really being in a position or having that motivation or ability, confidence, whatever it is, to punish Newcastle. It was Newcastle did start slowly, but then it all changed. It was about the 8th minute, I think. Again, I'm thinking back to the notes I made on my pad. And Anthony Gordon gets the ball in the left wing position, cuts in onto his right. It looks for all the world a goal. It's shot, it's tipped over the crossbar, but it's a really incisive, direct run. I'm going to come back to those 2 words a lot today because I thought they underpinned Newcastle's performance, and that really just changed the mood and the tone inside the stadium. And I thought during that opening 20-25 minutes, Anthony Gordon was absolutely key to that. And from then on, the chances just start rolling in, really. Jacob Murphy has 2 brilliant chances, both falling on his left foot inside the area, and he puts the pair of them wide there. There's another free kick then on the edge of the box from the crowd. You guys decide who's going to take it. The chance for Sandro go up. There's about a committee of 5 around the ball. In the end, they listen to what the crowd want. And yeah, Sandro Tonali takes it and puts it straight into the wall. You're thinking on the back of that, what's the song for Fabian Schär? Perhaps he should have taken it all along. But from that point on, you just think that a Newcastle opener is inevitable. We say that when Murphy's missing the chances, perhaps at the back of our mind, given there was West Ham and Brighton and other games following a similar sort of narrative, maybe, just maybe. But I'll be honest, you know, I'm sat there with my colleague Martin Hardy was saying this is a home victory here. It's just a case of when and how they get that first goal, and they get it. through a set piece down there at the Gallagher end, and what a brilliantly worked set piece it was. Now, quite why and how Leicester thought it was a good idea to send only one player to Newcastle's 3 around the short corner, I'll never know. But nonetheless, they took it, they worked it, it's brilliant. It's all to Tonali, to Gordon, and Anthony Gordon's allowed to stride into the area, all the space and all the time in the world. But we've seen that scenario before, and Newcastle don't necessarily make it pay. That final ball, that final execution is lacking. But then Gordon's pass is perfect, pulls it back for Murphy. Thankfully, it comes on his right foot and he tucks it away into the bottom corner, and he responds with a celebration. Seems every goal now is met with a celebration of players giving it back to fans or journalists or whatever it may be. Well, long may it continue if that is motivating you. But no, Murphy's finish is fantastic. It's crisp. And then the first half plays out, and somehow, Mr. Finally, we get to half time at 1-0. But there's one moment in the first half I've got to revisit, because I just absolutely loved it. And it was Sandro Tonali, and it led actually to a chance for Alexander Isak when he goes through on goal. And Tonali's pass from the number 6 position. I spoke earlier about cutting out the nonsense. Now, Bruno doesn't do that in this position, I don't think. Play it as quickly and as accurately over a distance with that pace and that incision as well as Tonali can do. Tonali does do it from the 6 and did it there, if you remember. It was a ball through the lines. It took out 3 Leicester players. It finds Joe Linton. Joe Linton then, again, for once, Joe Linton isn't always great at this. He does his job, gets the ball on the turn, puts Isak away. Isak does everything right. He's through on goal, and then just at the point of connection, he just gets the ball caught under his feet and puts it straight at the goalkeeper. But to go back to the source of that move, I just made a note of it. I tweeted about it. I spoke about it. I felt like texting people, because the Tonali conundrum has been going on for so long now, all the way back to his debut at Aston Villa. He hasn't won a game since then. I've already said that. In the Premier League, when he's been in the starting 11, where does he play? Where does he fit into this team? Does he even fit into this team? We've got the evidence now. I did the video 3 weeks ago saying, before the Crystal Palace game, put him in at 6. It's the only avenue left to explore. When I saw him play for Milan and I was out there covering Champions League semi-finals, I thought Newcastle were covering a 6. Well, he's been in there, and he's been good. We'll get the merit stars. So Tonali, that pass was just brilliant, worthy of, 30, 60 seconds of reflection to which I've given it. They get to half-time. It's only 1-0, but there's no talk in the press room, really, of Newcastle. There was missed chances coming back to haunt them. And within 5 minutes of the second half, it's 2-0, it's 3-0. Well, Leicester changed their goalkeeper at half-time. Danny Ward came on. He had a couple of early touches. The only problem was for him, he was picking the ball out the back of the net on both occasions. The goal for 2-0, it's another set piece. It's Anthony Gordon, clips it at the far post where he finds Lewis Hall, talking about those combinations, even from dead balls. He puts it back across with his head for Bruno to nod in at the far post there. Bruno, by the way, hadn't had a great first half at all. I didn't think he got caught on the ball once or twice. He has that half a dive, really, to try and win the penalty. But he comes out in the second half and he was better and he got that goal. And as I said, when I touched on that video a few weeks ago and I was talking about Bruno being in the 8, and still the goal I've enjoyed most, it was here against Leicester, when Bruno scored the diving header. Now, it wasn't quite the drama of that goal in the last minute, a winner at the Gallagher end, but even still, Bruno is capable of that. Play him in the 8, give him something different to think about. I think he'd gone a little bit stale. We've used that word a lot with Newcastle in the last couple of weeks, haven't we? I think he'd gone a little bit stale in that 6th position, but maybe it's the 8. It does give him that little lease of life to go and populate the penalty area again. If he was in the 6, he wouldn't be popping up at the back post or headers like he was there. And it's another set-piece goal, and having gone so long without even trying these, it was almost like they'd given up. Remember during the 23-24 season, going back to 22-23 as well, the amount of times they tried these inventive dead ball training ground routines. They were wonderful, and they invariably came off. You looked at it and thought that was a group with Jason Tyndall leading it, who were really working on those marginal gains. Well, there was a period where not only were they not scoring from corners and dead balls and everything else, it was as if they weren't even trying to add that creation and that invention. Maybe is that because Kieran Trippier wasn't there? I don't know, but they've tried 2 there today, and they've both come off. They've led to 2 goals, and we've seen all the noise around Arsenal of late and what a difference set-piece goals make. Well, Newcastle are 2-0 up because of a free kick in a corner. So try them more often, guys. You're good at them. 3rd goal, well, it's 3 minutes later, and we're going to talk about combinations. It's Gordon to Hall. Hall gets in the air. It's a little deflected cross. He's called it half an assist. We'll give him the full assist. It's his 2nd assist of the game. It then goes to Isak at the far post. Quite why Leicester have left Alexander Isak unmarked of all players, and he's left with that simple task of just nodding it in. It's then the 4th goal on the hour. And this, for me, is my favourite, my best of the lot, and I think it speaks most to what Newcastle are good at. It's Anthony Gordon gets the ball just on the Milburn stand touchline there, and there's a great, quick, incisive pass. I'm coming back to these same words, a clever little ball to Alexander Isak, and when he gets possession in that area with space, defenders don't know what to do. He can run it, he can beat you, put himself through on goal, he can shoot from distance, as we saw here against Liverpool, or he can find teammates too, and that's what happened this time. Jacob Murphy on the overlap, and the one thing I will give Murphy is when he gets the ball on that right foot, he can not have put his boot through it and smash it at the left foot. Not so clever as we saw in the early part of the first half there, but it's a brilliant finish. It puts it straight through the goalkeeper. And you know, when these moves are starting out on the left, and it was quite obvious from the get-go here that Newcastle were going to focus the majority of their attacking build-up down the left, perhaps that is something to aim towards, working it from left to right. Is Jacob Murphy a better finisher than Anthony Gordon, given that situation? Perhaps he is. So while I don't think Jacob Murphy is the answer at right wing, and I still would like to see Newcastle go out and improve that position with a starter in January, you know, Murphy has got his worth. Now, his overall game here was still frustrating. He lost the ball a few times. There was those couple of poor finishes, and that's Jacob Murphy, though. That's what you're going to get. But he's popped up with 2 goals today, and fair play to him. He does get a little bit of flack at times, but he's a willing runner. He's a disciplined player. He knows the playbook, and yeah, I honestly think he's a good finisher. I think he can put the ball in the back of the net. That's 4-0, and that's game over. They took the foot off the gas after that. There was 5 substitutions. That was fair enough. There's a huge game here to come on Wednesday against Brentford in the Cup, of course, so, you know, you can forgive them the last half hour there. There was a chance for Tonali, which I think would have brought the house down when he flicks it up over his own head at the Leazer's end, then puts the volley into the side netting. But it was okay the way it played out, and players such as Trippier and Osula got some really important minutes towards the end. So it was a good day, and they emerged from it, the subs and the starters, without any more injuries. And given Eddie Howe just confirmed to us now that Nick Pope is going to be out for a month, Callum Wilson is missing for 2 months, today couldn't really have gone any better. The one negative, sorry, I've got to revisit this, was perhaps Joe Linton's booking, which means he will miss the trip down to Ipswich next Saturday. Now, Eddie Howe joked with us 2 minutes earlier. He'd said to Joe Linton, just whatever you do, Joey, don't get booked. He said, don't worry, boss, I won't do. Well, within 90 seconds, he had done. Now, I think Joe Linton is a big miss away from home. One of my colleagues sent me, perhaps it wasn't a bad one for him to sit out against Ipswich, who haven't won a home game all season, of course. Well, I just think Joe Linton away from home, he brings so much to the team. So I think that is a blow. And you could tell by speaking to Eddie there afterwards that was a point of big regret. Now, the merit stars, okay, as I said at the top there, I'm not going to give 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s. There was a lot of scope for that there today. One viewer on X actually said, you know, are you going to do that today? Are you going to include all those worthy of mention? Well, I'll mention them, but they won't get the stars. And I'm going to start with a player who doesn't get any stars. I've mentioned him a few times already here today, and that's Alexander Isak. Now, I have been wrestling with who to include here. This is a warning for those of you who want Isak with the 1, the 2, or the 3. He could have been worth any one of those awards. He doesn't make it. That doesn't speak to Isak. That speaks to the guys who are in there. But I thought Isak was fantastic. He just so dangerous, the dribbles, he looked lively, he looked alive, he looked electric, whatever word you want to attach to that. And given there has been at times a little bit of a criticism of Isak that he perhaps only does do it on those bigger occasions, like the team, like the wider collective, you know, not just aimed at him. He did it here against a lesser team. And that's got to be encouraging because Newcastle need him against every team, big and small. Now, okay, we'll start in ascending order. And the 1 star, well, that goes to Lewis Hall. You might think he was worthy of 2, perhaps even 3. He was, you know, again, this is my opinion and my take. Now, Lewis Hall in the last couple, especially down at Brentford last weekend and against Liverpool as well, defensively, I think he's actually come off, and it felt like there'd been a slight regression there to a degree. Maybe that's the wrong word, I don't know. But compared to the progress he had made in the position he'd got himself in, whereby won his first England cap and he was that nailed-on starter for Newcastle at left-back. He still is that, by the way. I'm not, going to go back on that. But there were just little questions beginning to emerge as to, is he actually really there in terms of being that reliable, dependable defender week on week? Well, he didn't really answer those questions today because Leicester didn't really attack, but nonetheless, it was a really assured, strong performance, especially on an attacking front when he supplied the 2 assists. He's got into good positions. That final execution, something which has been lacking as a collective, that was there. I thought Lewis Hall was brilliant, and that's a brilliant with a 1 star. So that just shows you how well the 2 in front of him, in my mind, did today. But Lewis Hall, he's got to be in there. He cannot not be. 1 star. Now 2 stars, I'll tell you 2 stars don't go to, and that's the ground staff. As much as I love them, the great lads, but they've just started filming what I think looks like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre down there. For the purposes of sound, I've had to come up to this higher plane now. Yeah, 2 stars. Anthony Gordon. I've already touched on this, but I thought he set the tone. After that slowish start, he was the player who grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and really dragged Newcastle forward and upfield to the point where they became camped in Leicester's half and didn't leave camp. They were there for the remainder of the game. But Gordon, much has been made about his form this season. I use that phrase, some good, some bad, some indifferent. Well, today was very good. It was excellent. He got the 1 assist for the opening goal. And then, I don't know if this is actually a thing, perhaps we'll make it one. He got the assist to the assist for the remaining 3 goals. And that's what you want from a winger. That consistent contribution, making a difference in terms of goals scored. And Anthony Gordon had that today. And he, for me, is a very worthy recipient of 2 stars. The challenge to him, as it is for the team, is to now go and produce that, because we've seen these moments from Gordon already this season. You guys know what I think of him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a game changer. I think he's a difference maker. But this year, it's been 1 game, and he's gone missing for 1. Then he's been okay for 1. Then he hasn't been very good. Then he's been brilliant. Go and be the player of last season over an extended run. And I just suspect now, and I hope now, given we haven't got the punctuation of those international breaks, and given it looks as if he's going to settle on that left-hand side where he's got to stay, where he wants to stay, give him that run, that consistency, that repetition, then I think it'll all start to come back. And today was a really encouraging sign towards that. And the 3 stars. Well, I say much has been made about Anthony Gordon's form. I don't think there's been as much debate about Gordon's performances as there has the recipient of my 3 stars, and that is Sandro Tonali. He is, and he was there today, the conductor at the base of that midfield. Eddie said to us afterwards when we pushed him on this subject that both Bruno and Tonali can play that number 6 position very well, but they do play it differently. I'd agree with that. As much as they're similar players in some regards, they play the role in a completely different way. And for me, the way Tonali plays it is more beneficial to the team. And we've seen that. We saw that against Liverpool. We saw that in the cup game against Chelsea. And we saw that then again today. And it goes back to the pass. I don't mind revisiting talking about that pass through the lines. Incisive, quick, direct. He does that. He gives you that. Is there a better one-touch passer at the football club? I really don't think there is. Perhaps Kieran Trippier would want to be part of that conversation too. But Tonali, in the form he's in there today, I talk about these clues and these things which have got to stay for the team to maintain that performance. Well, absolutely, Sandro Tonali has got to be a huge part of that. And after the best part of, 18 months now, bouncing around, wondering what he is, we've got the answer. Keep him there. It's the way he strides. I spoke about this in his comeback game down at Nottingham Forest, that sort of gladiatorial feel to him. Well, when he's been shifted to the 8, in the Bulga game, still in the majority of his performances, in a black and white shirt for me, have been the wrong side of good. I will say that, when he hasn't had that confidence, that impact. His influence on a game has been fleeting here and there, playing in moments. Well, again today, he's done it over a more prolonged period. The amount of times he just breaks up players. He did get his foot in. He does win the ball. He has got that element to his game. So Sandro Tonali today is my recipient of the maximum 3 stars. Now, I can't record this video and not mention the article I wrote for the Daily Mail and Mail Plus today. It certainly occupied a lot of space on social media this morning. That's good. You've got to worry when people aren't talking about what you're writing and what you're recording and everything else. So that's okay. I don't mind the debate, but I do sort of grumble a little bit with those who are commenting on it and returning judgment on an article which it doesn't seem as if they've even read. Because if you read the article, there's no criticism of the players. If anything, it's very sympathetic towards the players. There seems to be this narrative among that vocal minority that it was a pop at the team, a pop at the club. It wasn't, really. It just outlines where they are, the reality of the situation. I found some of the interaction with it quite staggering, really. But no, just to outline what it was. Yeah, the Newcastle on the back of 4 without a win. Your desk in London want to know why. What's happening? There's all this talk about Saudi takeovers and everything else, and then the noise coming back is that Newcastle aren't going to be able to spend any money in January. Why? Why have they not bought any players in the last 2 windows? You know, what of Eddie Howe's future? Where is that? So yeah, I wrote about it for today. And those who grumble, why write this article today on the day of a game? It's not helpful. I've got 2 words for that. I wouldn't ever say them on this channel, but it's Saturday. It's the biggest football day of the week. Look at the newspapers that chock-a-block with football coverage. What am I going to write about it? Saturday piece teeing up today's game, and whether it's helpful or unhelpful. And by the way, I think these pieces which hold a club to account, and, you know, they do inspect and investigate and delve into what's actually going on inside a football club, guys, they're honestly good for the long-term health of a club. You know, they're holding people to account. So why did I write about it today? Well, yes, it's a Saturday and it's before a big home game for Newcastle. I'll never make any apology for the timing of it, but also the tone and the nature of it as well. Just examined how they've arrived at where they are. And that's because in January, in the boardroom just behind us there, well, Darren Eales gave an interview, and this isn't even a criticism of Eales either. You know, he's being honest when he said that, yes, every player in the squad has a price. Now, I know how that was received inside the dressing room, and things haven't really been the same since in terms of the mood and that belief in the project and the direction and the pace of it. But that's okay, guys. It's just the reality of the situation with Newcastle now. And has it led to some players looking at the club and asking the question, you know, can they actually satisfy their ambition in terms of where they want to go with regards to Champions League and Premier League titles? Well, yes, it has. And when you just have that little element of doubt, even that 1%, and I wrote this in the piece, you know, when marginal gains turn to marginal losses, the difference in results is actually vast. And I think that's what we've seen. I know that to be the case. You know, if you're a journalist, it's your job to speak to as many different people as possible, engage that mood and look at the reasons for it. And that is where Newcastle are at right now. You know, there's an acceptance among the squad that for all the talk of new training grounds and stadiums and revamped St James's Park, when they signed for the likes of Guimaraes, Isak, Gordon, that might not be for them if it's 5 years down the track. There's just that realisation, and that is what the article outlined. It didn't say the dream is dead, it's just not as dreamy as we once believed. And those who did read it, the comments and the response and the interaction, it was wonderful, it was brilliant, you know. So if you haven't read it, you know, please do if you can, because I think it was an important article to write, just outlining exactly where the club is at right now. It wasn't a criticism, and it's not my job to be helpful or otherwise. I'm just there to say it as it is, and I spend a lot of time speaking to as many people as I can to get this information and to paint as accurate a picture as possible. So anyway, that's it for now, and what better place to finish with a scan what is a very quiet St James's. Yeah, it wasn't like that earlier, and justifiably so. You know, I thought the support as well from the Gallagher end there for Eddie Howe at the start, the middle and the end of the game. That's important. Again, in the piece I wrote today, I stated Eddie Howe is absolutely the right man, the right manager. He just finds himself, like a lot of things around the club, it's a difficult moment. He's got to navigate that. And step one of a huge week, he and his players have navigated perfectly. Brilliant today, but they've got to go and follow it up against Brentford on Wednesday, which is, compared to today, Brentford on Wednesday perhaps is season defining, but nonetheless, they've given themselves the best chance. So I'll be back on Tuesday when I'm back up at the training ground talking to the manager ahead. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it again. Wednesday is huge and I can't wait. It promises to be another brilliant night back here. So please, for now, like, comment, subscribe, and click on the link to that article. Give it a read, guys, please. But thank you so much. The interaction on here is fantastic. The comments are genuine. They're clean. They might have a different opinion to me. That's fine. Different opinions are okay. It's brilliant. You know, I'll come back and I'll reply to as many as I possibly can. So, okay. Thank you again for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.